Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today we have a trading analysis. Here I want to highlight my two best indicators that I personally use and the only indicators that I use when it comes to trading. So we've got the pivot points and the VWAP. And today's highlighted, I guess, is the VWAP. All right, so as you can see on the 1 minute chart, we've got this, we see market open here at 9:30 in the morning, and it kind of just chops around for about a couple minutes. For about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or about 5 minutes, we kind of just chop around here, and we're just hugging the VWAP. As you can see here, before we've been, pre-market, we've been bouncing off of the pivot points, or not the pivot points, sorry. We've been bouncing off of the VWAP for a little bit. The VWAP is kind of like an anchor that I use to, know whenever it's time to get long or get short. I wouldn't say trading off of these bounces are the best way to trade, but definitely something that you guys should see, and is a pattern that I notice in my trading. Market opens here, it kind of just chops around, and we've kind of got this bear flags forming, right? It's sort of kind of like this. We had that breakout of that bear flag, but it touched the VWAP. So I wasn't going to get long unless we actually broke above the VWAP and kind of stayed above it. Like if the VWAP kind of held as support, I might be looking for a long here, but that did not happen. So we saw this, kind of sell down here. And as soon as we tap VWAP, I'm like, all right, let's see how this reacts off the VWAP. About 10 minutes, and I'm like, all right, I'm not seeing too much of a reaction off this VWAP. I'm not really seeing us kind of hold it, not really seeing any support. And not to mention, the gap was, lower here. This previous line that I made here is not the gap in the QQQ, but it is a line of resistance or support. So we've got kind of this resistance, previous resistance here from Monday, but we saw it really kind of act as support at this level twice, and if it got below that level, it'd definitely be, a good short. As you can see here, we've got this beautiful trade that happened. And, we pushed up that fake out breakout, which if you guys are below the VWAP, I want to make sure that, you should be looking for shorts if you're below the VWAP, and you should be looking for longs if you're above. Not all the time, but it does, indicate that, you're in an uptrend if you're above the VWAP most of the time, right? So here we're starting to just kind of trend lower a little bit here. So I decided to get short right here at this level. We didn't close above the VWAP, and we just kind of sold right to my target. A nice 1 to 3 risk reward, so risk $250 to make $700. And, we just took that trade, simple and easy. But I do want to highlight something about pivot points too. Today we kind of just chopped around for the rest of the day, kind of just going sideways until around 2:30 in the afternoon, and we just started to sell right through again. I want to really highlight something here about pivot points, right? This is pivot point standard. Nothing crazy. This is just my, my settings. It's all the default settings. I just changed the color to white, and it made the visibility a bit better. As you can see here, we did not close any of these candles below that pivot point. And that is something that I personally like to see whenever I am trading off the pivot point, right? My personal strategy, right? I didn't take this trade, but my personal strategy when looking for setups like this is you want to have the pivot point at a good spot on the chart, and then you want to see kind of like a bear flag kind of setup form on top of that pivot point. And another thing, you do not want to see any candles close below. If you're on the 1 minute chart and you don't see any candles close, it's sort of like a good indicator. But if you don't see any candles close on the higher time frames, such as the 2 minute, the 3 minute, or the 5 minute chart, you're kind of golden for this move up. As you can see here, we've got this beautiful bear flag setup. This would be an A+ setup. When you see this, kind of, make your own judgment, of course, on how the market's moving. I personally wasn't in the market to trade during this time, but I did notice this happen when I started to, look at the charts afterwards. And this is an A+ setup. We saw it, form a bear flag and break out, retest, and move straight on up. Could have been holding all day for the rest of the day and still be in deep profits. Of course, let's say I wanted to, get into a long position. All right, so let's say we've gotten, this whole trend here. We've got this trend, and as soon as we get in long, let's say we get in long as soon as it breaks out and retests. So we get the retest, And you want to have your risk to reward to be pretty good. And me personally, I like to put just right below the lowest swing right here. Below the pivot point is definitely ideal, and you just kind of want to have a 1 to 3 risk to reward. So we've gotten that trade right there. So that would have been a great example on a trade that I would have taken if it was more early in the morning, but you can use this setup during the afternoon as well. And these are kind of just the two main ideas on how I trade personally. I like to, trade based off of momentum. I like to trade based on just how the market's acting. And if the market is kind of reacting off of these pivot points / VWAP, I really like to take trades. So VWAP and pivot points are personally my favorite indicators to use, and honestly, they're the only indicators that I use on the charts. If you guys want to, trade how I trade, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not a professional trader, nor do I claim to be profitable. I just found that these two strategies do work when I trade, not all the time. They don't work every time, but I do like to kind of have this idea that it works most of the time, and hopefully I can become profitable based off of these two, main strategies. They're not going to work all the time, but I do like to use them because I do see patterns, right? You do want to trade off of patterns, and that's basically how I trade. I trade off of seeing patterns in the market and just how the market is moving. So if you guys want to check out any of my other YouTube videos, go and check them out. There's one based off of how to create a day trading account with Trade-of-8. That's a good one. There's also one where I kind of go into analysis on how, Apex versus Take Profit Trader versus Top Step. The top 3 kind of industry leading and kind of my personal favorites of, prop firms to use. But I personally trade with Take Profit Trader, and these couple trades, or I guess not this trade. This trade's not a real trade. But this trade here did happen early this morning. As you can see, we've got the sell order and the buy order down here. So we did have that beautiful trade this morning. And if you guys want to check out any of my other videos, go ahead and check them out. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.